Chapter 3. Shadows of Survival, Echoes of Sacrifice. Each step Frank took down the blood-soaked trench line was a battle against his own agony, a relentless march through the graveyard of carnage. The ground beneath his boots was a morass of mud and viscera, each squelching footfall a grim reminder of the horrors of war. Despite the searing pain that shot through his body with every movement, Frank pressed on, his determination to survive burning bright against the backdrop of death and destruction. The trench, once a lifeline for soldiers seeking refuge from enemy fire, now lay in ruins, its walls scarred by the violence of battle. Fallen comrades lay strewn about like discarded puppets, their lifeless forms a stark contrast to the vibrant souls they had once been. Frank couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt as he passed each fallen soldier, their vacant eyes accusing him of surviving while they lay cold and still. But amidst the carnage, Frank's senses remained sharp, his instincts honed by the constant threat of danger that lurked around every corner. The distant echoes of gunfire and explosions served as a grim reminder of the ever-present threat of enemy patrols and lurking snipers. And above it all, the ominous hum of drones circled overhead like vultures, their mechanical eyes scouring the battlefield for any sign of movement. As he moved, Frank kept low, his torn uniform blending seamlessly with the mud and gore that coated the trench floor. Each breath he took was heavy with the metallic tang of blood and the sickly sweet scent of decay, a potent reminder of the price of war. He couldn't afford to let his guard down, not for a moment, for he knew that death waited patiently for any sign of weakness. Then, amidst the oppressive silence, a distant sound shattered the stillness, a low, ominous hum that sent a shiver down Frank's spine. Instinctively, he froze, his heart pounding in his chest as he scanned the sky for the source of the noise. And there it was, a sleek, menacing drone, its mechanical eye fixed on the battlefield below with cold, unyielding precision. With a sinking feeling gnawing at the pit of his stomach, Frank sought refuge amongst the fallen. The once vibrant uniforms of his comrades now lay tattered and stained, blending seamlessly with the mud and blood-soaked earth. He lay down amidst them, his senses assaulted by the overwhelming stench of decay mingled with the acrid tang of gunpowder lingering in the air. As he pressed himself against the cold ground, he couldn't shake the feeling of terror that gripped him. The sheer scale of destruction, the immense loss of life surrounding him like a suffocating shroud. Every breath seemed to taste of death, every heartbeat a reminder of the fragility of existence in this hellish landscape. Yet, amidst the despair, there was a glimmer of hope. A desperate belief that his bloodied and battered appearance might somehow shield him from the watchful gaze of the drone overhead. He closed his eyes, willing himself to become one with the fallen, praying that he could fade into the grim tableau of war, unnoticed amidst the chaos and devastation. Minutes crawled by like hours as Frank lay motionless, his breath coming in shallow gasps, his muscles coiled with tension. The drone circled overhead, its presence a constant threat, a silent predator stalking its prey. And just as Frank dared to breathe a sigh of relief, a haunting sight gripped his attention. A wounded enemy soldier, his body a testament to the horrors of war, dragging himself across the scarred battlefield with a tenacity born of desperation. Each agonizing movement etched lines of pain onto the soldier's dirt-streaked face, yet his eyes burned with an unyielding determination. With every labored crawl, he left behind a trail of blood, a poignant reminder of the human cost of conflict. Despite the relentless chaos that engulfed them, the wounded soldier pressed forward, his every ounce of strength focused on reaching the sanctuary of a nearby side trench. With trembling hands, he clawed at the loose earth, his fingers leaving streaks of crimson in their wake. Inch by agonizing inch, he dragged himself closer to safety, his breaths ragged and labored. Finally, with a last burst of effort, the soldier rolled into the trench, his body collapsing onto the muddy floor. He lay there, chest heaving, his eyes darting warily as if expecting the sky itself to rain down destruction upon him. But fate, cruel and unyielding, had other plans. As the wounded soldier vanished from Frank's view, The drone's sensors detected the subtle movement, honing in on the unsuspecting target with deadly precision. As Frank lay motionless amidst the fallen bodies, terror coiled tightly within him like a venomous serpent. The distant hum of the drone faded into the background, replaced by the thunderous pounding of his own heart reverberating in his ears. Suddenly, the air shattered with a blinding flash of light, and the earth beneath him trembled with a deafening explosion. The air forced out of his lungs by the sheer force of the blast, Frank's senses were engulfed in a whirlwind of chaos. Before he could register the full extent of the devastation, torn bodies were hurled into the air like rag dolls, their twisted forms silhouetted against the fiery sky. Limbs and shrapnel rained down around him, landing perilously close, threatening to engulf him in a macabre shower of death. In that harrowing moment, terror seized Frank's mind with an iron grip. The stench of burning flesh mingled with the acrid smoke, assaulting his senses and choking the very air he struggled to breathe. His heart hammered against his chest, each beat a desperate plea for survival amidst the overwhelming onslaught of destruction. As the smoke cleared, Frank surveyed the aftermath of the drone strike. The air was thick with the smell of burning metal and charred flesh, the ground littered with debris and dismembered bodies. But amidst the devastation, there was a glimmer of hope, a chance, however slim, that Frank might yet make it home. With a weary resolve, he picked himself up from the ground, his body battered but his spirit unbroken. For Frank was a soldier, and in the face of overwhelming odds, he would never surrender to despair. As he continued down the trench line, Frank couldn't help but notice the sheer number of fallen comrades that littered the path before him. The faces of friends and brothers in arms stared up at him, their lifeless eyes haunting him with silent accusation. Among the fallen, Frank searched desperately for more bandages to replace the soiled ones wrapped around his gunshot wound. He grimaced as he peeled back the blood-soaked cloth, the injury beneath raw and inflamed from lying amongst the dead while hiding from the drone. It was imperative that he find fresh bandages to prevent infection and aid in his healing. Spotting a small dugout connected to the trench, Frank made his way towards it, his senses on high alert for any sign of danger. The dugout was dimly lit, the air heavy with the stench of decay. Inside, he found the bodies of enemy soldiers strewn about, their lifeless forms a grim testament to the brutality of war. Ignoring the gruesome scene, Frank rummaged through the supplies scattered about the dugout until he found what he was looking for: a roll of bandages tucked away in a corner. With trembling hands, he set about changing the dressing on his wound, wincing as he cleaned away the dirt and grime that had accumulated. As he worked, his eyes were drawn to a figure slumped in the corner of the dugout, bound and gagged with a bag over their head. With a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach, Frank approached cautiously, his heart heavy with dread. Carefully, he peeled back the duct tape that secured the bag, revealing the face of a dead soldier with a gunshot wound to the head. The sight sent a chill down Frank's spine as he read the name tag on the soldier's uniform. Rodriguez. Memories flooded his mind, fragments of conversations and shared moments flashing before his eyes. He remembered Rodriguez as a man of integrity, a professional soccer player turned soldier who had dedicated himself to protecting his fellow soldiers and the environment alike. Their last conversation echoed in Frank's mind, the memory bittersweet as he recalled Rodriguez's excitement at nearing the end of his tour of duty. He had spoken eagerly of returning home to his family, of picking up where he left off and making a difference in the world. And now, all those hopes and dreams lay shattered, a casualty of the senseless violence that surrounded them. With a heavy heart, Frank closed Rodriguez's eyes, offering a silent prayer for his fallen comrade. He vowed to carry his memory with him, to honor his sacrifice by continuing to fight for the ideals they both held dear. As he emerged from the dugout back into the harsh light of day, Frank's resolve was stronger than ever. He knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger and despair, but he refused to let fear dictate his actions.